Ready for a deep dive today? We're going way back in time to early Christianity in Egypt. We're going to uncover how one symbol, and it's a cool one, went from ancient Egyptian religion to being used by early Christians.
It's really interesting, you know? Especially when you think about the symbol, the ankh. It already meant something in Egyptian culture, like for a long, long time.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how, how symbols change over time. But to understand the ankh's journey, we've got to go back to its roots, right? And lucky for us, we've got this awesome journal article about what they found at the Basilica of St. Philoxenus in Oxyrhynchus. It's like a snapshot of life in Egypt between the 4th and 7th centuries.
Yeah, Oxyrhynchus back then was a busy place, lots of religious stuff going on, just when Christianity was becoming like the religion. But here's the thing, it wasn't like they just erased everything from before.
Right, like archaeology is a time machine, showing us how the past and present get all mixed up.
Exactly.
So, about the ankh. Okay, imagine you're in ancient Egypt. This symbol, everywhere.
Oh yeah, it was on everything. Tombs, temples, you name it, you couldn't miss it. It meant life, and not just like everyday life, but life after death too. The ancient Egyptians, they were all about that. Life, death, rebirth, the whole cycle.
And it wasn't just any life, right? Like, the ankh was seriously connected to the gods.
Big time. Osiris, you know, the god of the underworld, he was the poster child for this whole life, death, rebirth thing.
Yeah.
Even pharaohs were rocking the ankh. It showed their power, their link to the divine.
And that whole eternal life thing, it's like, hello, Christianity's got something to say about that too, right?
Right. It makes you wonder if maybe those early Christians, they saw this symbol that already meant something powerful and thought, hey, let's use this.
Right, exactly. Like, we can work with this.
So you've got the Egyptians with their ankh. Then you've got the early Christians in Egypt, and they came up with their own version, the Crux Ansata.
Okay, so how similar are we talking, really? What makes a Crux Ansata different from the ankh? The article goes deep into how it looks.
Well, at first glance, it's got that loop at the top, just like the ankh. But then you look closer, and the bottom part is shaped like the Greek letter tau, a T.
Okay, yeah.
And get this, some of the Crux Ansata crosses they dug up at St. Philoxenus.
Oh.
Way more detailed. They had these circles inside the loop, different materials, wood, metal, all sizes.
Fancy.
Totally. And these weren't hidden away. They were on the columns all over the basilica.
Wow. Can you imagine? Like, you're there for a service and you're surrounded by these symbols that are like a bridge between the old ways and the new faith. It's wild. But, okay, big question. Why would early Christians take a symbol so connected to another religion?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But luckily for us, this article gives us 3 really interesting theories to think about.
So spill the tea. What are these theories?
Okay, so theory number 1, it's kind of simple, right? Maybe, and this is just me thinking out loud, maybe the early Christians, they saw the ankh, they saw the cross and thought, hey, those look kind of similar.
Yeah, I can see that, but it feels like there's got to be more to it, don't you think?
Definitely. The article dives deeper, says maybe they chose the ankh on purpose because of what it already meant. Remember, eternal life, big deal in Christianity too.
Right. It's like they're saying, hey, you know this symbol. Well, guess what? It also means this awesome thing in our belief system.
Totally, like a bridge between the old and the new. And that takes us to theory number 3, syncretism. Basically, mixing different beliefs.
Like a religious mashup.
Exactly. So these early Christians in Egypt, they're thinking, how do we make Christianity click with people used to something else? Boom, the Crux Ansata makes it feel familiar.
Instead of ditching the past, they're like, let's work with what we got. This is fascinating. But here's the thing. We don't know which theory is right. It could be 1, 2, all of them. A real head-scratcher.
Yeah.
And get this symbol, it wasn't just a basilica thing. The article talks about how common it was all over the place.
Oh yeah, totally. Like those mummy portraits from El Fayum. You know, the ones they painted on wood and put over the mummies' faces during Roman times in Egypt. Well, some of those mummies, they were buried with Crux Ansata crosses.
No way. So this was happening even before the Basilica at Oxyrhynchus.
Way before. We're talking centuries. Even before Christianity was A-okay with the Roman Empire.
Wow. That's huge. Talk about making a statement.
It's true. It really shows you how important and widespread that symbol was. In the article, it's got more examples. Like, check this out. The churches of Isman el Karab, they found Crux Ansata crosses carved right into the walls.
Whoa, like ancient graffiti.
Some were, yeah, just simple marks. But others, super ornate, really fancy stuff.
So it's not just in fancy churches, it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
From grand buildings to doodles on the wall.
It really was part of their world. And it wasn't just churches and tombs. There's this one amulet, it blows my mind. One side shows Daniel in the lion's den, classic Christian art. But flip it over.
Don't tell me. A Crux Ansata.
Bingo! Like, they were blending everything together, you know? Different cultures, different religions, making something totally new.
It's like a snapshot of this time when everything's mixing, changing. So cool.
Exactly. History is messy, and that's what makes it fascinating. But hold on, there's one more piece of this puzzle.
Get me with it.
So those crosses in the Basilica, they usually had these two Greek letters with them, Alpha and Omega.
Oh, yeah, those are important, right? Like at the beginning and the end.
You got it. They're talking about Christ, quoting the book of Revelation, where he says, I is the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. It's a big deal.
So they're connecting eternal life, the Crux Ansata, with Christ, right?
Exactly. But here's the kicker, using Alpha and Omega with crosses. More of a Western Christian thing, according to the article. So was this combo, Crux Ansata plus Alpha and Omega, unique to Egypt? We don't know.
It really makes you think about how fluid symbols can be, right? How they take on different meanings depending on the time and place.
Totally. And early Christianity, especially in a melting pot like Egypt, it was all about that mixing the old with the new. The Crux Ansata, it's a perfect example of that. But you hit on something important. We've been talking about what we can see, right? The archaeology, the paintings, those carvings. But what about the stuff they wrote?
Right. Like, did they write about the Crux Ansata? Did it pop up in their, I don't know, their theological writings, their letters, anything like that?
Now, that's a great question. You're like an archaeologist yourself, digging for more clues. And you know what? The article, it doesn't really say. It's all about the objects they found. But it does make you wonder, was the Crux Ansata just a visual thing? Or did it work its way into how they wrote, too?
I can imagine the conversations they must have had. Was it okay to use a symbol from another religion? Was it smart? Was it, I don't know, maybe even controversial?
Oh, totally. Were they cool with it, or were they freaking out? It's like a puzzle and we're missing some pieces.
And that's the fun part, right? Always more to discover. So, to everyone listening, here's your homework. Go check out those old Christian texts from Egypt. See if you can find the Crux Ansata hiding in there. You never know, you might just crack the case wide open.
You could be the one to find that missing link. That's what's so cool about this stuff. It makes you want to learn more, ask more questions.
It's a never-ending adventure.